JumpStart, and we're going to talk about how you do networking in a digital age. So what is networking? So what networking isn't is soliciting or being thirsty or asking for a job. Networking, in a sense, is about building professional relationships, building rapport with employers, but not only employers, but with each other. And so what I wanted to think about, and I think a lot of the misconceptions or the myths of, is that networking is bothersome. Networking is about asking for jobs when you need it. It's only getting me, but it's about necessarily building authentic relationships with not only employers or potential employers, but with the people around you. And so we really want to, I usually take that word networking because it sounds so businessy and salesmanship-like, and I really try to replace it with building authentic relationships. The only difference between networking and just building a friendship is that the common ground that you build these relationships is around some kind of career aspect, right? Like when you meet a friend for the first time, I think the shared connection you have is about building a friendship and hobbies and things like that. So when you're networking, you still are building a relationship, an authentic relationship, but the central focus of that relationship is revolved around an industry, revolving around a career, revolving around a job. But it should be just as genuine and authentic as building any relationship. So you may have seen this multiple times. This is our career readiness equation. And as you can see, to have a holistic experience, you need to hit all these different pockets. And I tell people, this is not a linear thing. Like it's not earn a degree, gain experiences, market yourself, and that's it. This is a continuous thing, and we're all on different parts of this spectrum. I like to say earn a degree. It could be earn a degree or different certifications or professional development. We're always trying to look for learning and training. That's kind of the earn a degree part. It's continuous professional development, growth, or some kind of certification. In your case, most of y'all's main primary professional development is obtaining that degree that relates to your career. Gaining experiences. Gaining experiences is more lenient toward those jobs, those internships, extracurriculars, clubs, volunteerism, ways that you can develop your skills and complement the degree or the certificates or whatever you're doing through real tangible experiences, real hands-on experiences. And then marketing yourself. The flat out on paper ways that you market yourself is your resume and your cover letter, but how do we also market ourselves in a digital space, whether that's your LinkedIn, your handshake profile, how you talk about yourself in an interview. And we're constantly doing this. This is not just something you do once in your life. Honestly, right now, even me and Mary Claire as professionals are marketing ourselves over and over and over again throughout how we network with people, how we talk with people, how we promote ourselves on social media. And so I want you to think about, as you go through this presentation, how are we hitting these different parts? Now, the part about marketing yourself is that there could be ways that you formally market yourself, and there's informal ways that you market yourself. And I just expressed the formal ways, right? Formal ways is a real structured process of interviewing, resumes, and cover letters. But think about it, as we walk out in the world, we represent not only ourselves, we represent ourselves all the time. Think about that time where you talk to someone in the grocery store. Technically, that's marketing yourself because you're talking about your accomplishments when you meet someone for the first time and networking. So you're actively engaged in marketing yourself all the time. And so think about yourself as a brand and how you go around and how you connect with other professionals. So usually the way the stages of a job opening typically goes is by this slide, is that employers are always looking. We can let you know that there's, at some form or fashion, even when there's no new hires across different industries, there's always going to be an ebb and flow of employers looking for talented new employees, because with the expectation that some days people will either retire or leave or transition out. So employers are always just kind of having in the back of their mind new talent. what is very clear and what insiders know, that there is no clear knowledge or action has not been taken, right? You know, their need is clear and they know the need is clear, but there's no action. And then we see right here, in-house sourcing means that when, like I said, if an employer has a new position that is available, sometimes before they go to an external avenue to look for it, they're going to look internally to hire, and then they publicize. And so this goes around the percentage that opportunities are gained through networking is around 70%, meaning that old adage of it's not what you know, but who you know is pretty much true. And so you're saying, Philip, how do I know about the insider information if I'm an outsider? And so that's going to be the part where informational interviews, learning about employers through informal means kind of give you that insider insourcing opportunity. Because a lot of employers, a lot of things, if you go down and you ask a lot of people how they got to where they were professionally, I mean, yes, they had to apply just like everyone else for standards of human resources, but you will hear a lot of stories where people said, I was made aware, at least made aware of the job posting. I was at least made aware of the external job posting or external publication of this job posting by someone I met, or someone that was an old colleague of mine, or someone that just, there's so many, you will hear the most random stories of someone that they met at the grocery store. So a lot of this is building relationships. Then I tell people that when you are thinking about networking, think about networking as investing in your social capital, meaning necessarily you're playing the long game. The immediate, very short game is applying for a job that you see online. The long game is building a lot of relationships. You will not gain the benefit of establishing those relationships immediately, but there's going to be times where you lean on your network for job opportunities, or unbeknown to you, opportunities are going to come. Someone's going to be speaking upon your name, your reputation, and you're going to be made aware of opportunities through, your inbox, your LinkedIn, and all those things. So think about that when we go through the relationship building aspect, that the last part of the job stages, the last part is usually publicity of publicizing a job in front of everyone. But a lot of these things will be word of mouth, or especially just small interactions with employers. So how do I build these relationships with employers? Well, you already have pre-existing networks. A lot of people think that networks need to be firmly established with only professionals. But what I would say is start thinking strategically about the already pre-existing networks that you already have. And so we call them the 5 F's to networking. And that's family, friends, faculty, your classmates right now, your fellow Mason alum, and professional associations. And so I would encourage you, as a quick activity, I'm going to do a pause, is I want you to think right now, I want you to write on it, if you have a piece of paper or take a screenshot of this, I would like you to think of, in an industry, let's say you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, think of anything that first association, don't overthink it, of one name per category. So for instance, I'm interested in media, right? So I'm going to look about, I might not be able to hit one name for everyone, but one of my fraternity brothers, shout out to my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. That's the foundation's professional associations. One of my fraternity brothers is a journalist. So I would put his name down as someone that's linked to that one. Or I would also think about a Mason alum, and I'll show you how to look up Mason alum in different industry pockets. But I want you to screenshot this right now, or write down the 5 F's. And as we go through the presentation or later on, I want you to fill in at least one person that you can reach out to that will hit one of those 5 F pockets. And I'm going to take a look. I see some things coming in the chat. I want to make sure I'm slowing down. Okay.
Hey Phil, so there's a question in the chat about informational interviewing as it relates to networking. Is that something you'll have a chance to weave into the presentation later?
Yes, I will, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to establish using LinkedIn to set up an informational interview. And when I set up tell you how to do that, I will also explain what an informational interview is and maybe the appropriate steps to reach out to gain information. But yes, please keep me accountable to bring that up later. But yes, we'll try to cover that.
Absolutely. And I'll take a look at the chat for you so you can keep going, and I'll interrupt when the time presents.
So as I said earlier, one of the things that what I would think of is that you already have a really great network and you have a lot to leverage as a student right now. And so one of the things I think about is how they intertwine with those extracurriculars. Is there are classes that you strategically can take that align with networking. So like if you want to be a sound engineer, obviously taking a class that relates to sound engineering means that you're already going to establish a rapport with your classmates or that professor. So being strategic about how you network within your own courses that you're taking. Look for campus events. Obviously there's going to still be virtual campus events as they relate to your interest. And I'm going to talk to you later about when you attend these virtual events, something I do, something I make a little list of things I want to drop in the chat. But you, just by doing this right now, you are participating in a campus event per se. Project teams, all these are opportunities to, one, get tangible work, but also as you work on projects with team members, those are basically building a network right there, people that you worked with before in a group. So stay in contact with your former group members. If it's, hopefully, not if, but hopefully it's a positive experience. You get that A or that B plus or whatever, and that those will be ways that you stay in touch. And also I want to empower you to think about, as a student or a recent graduate, people want you as well. So don't think this is always one-sided. You have things that you can leverage. You have skills that you're gaining right now. You have opportunities to show that you're talented and capable. So when you go and we talk about the setting up the informational interviews and whatnot, think of that, have the confidence to know that you also bring things to the table. And so we'll talk about that later. And then, as I said earlier, conferences, professional organizations, these are formalized, structured opportunities to go to certain communities that already have a shared interest. That's what professional associations are all about. Like, you have a shared interest in a certain industry. So knowing that you can participate in these things or go to conferences, you're already going to meet people that have the same interest industry-wise as you. And so I think those are great opportunities, either for pay or free, which I know that we're doing a lot of virtual ones that are for free. Joining conferences and going to things that, as they align with your interests, are great. And you being a student, you can leverage your experiences in those different spaces. So we're going to go into LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn, I would say we have two really digital platforms that we heavily promote here at Career Services. Handshake, handshake. I can't repeat that enough, but we also use LinkedIn. I personally, and someone can chime in, but I personally think that Handshake and LinkedIn should be used. They're not competitors for your instance. They are complementary. I think of Handshake more about like the immediate employers looking for Mason specific grads, really tapping into that Mason network. So really utilize Handshake as a way to leverage your Mason experience to employers. And then I think of LinkedIn as the greater community, the greater world. And so I would really like to emphasize, use them as complementary tools for networking. I also would say they look very similar in regards to platforms. So when you have a full profile on Handshake, just duplicate same bullets, headshots, and put that on LinkedIn. Have them really work together and not work separately. And so LinkedIn is obviously the bigger, more established, longer platform. It's free. It has millions of users. They're used all over the world, and a new person is added to the site every second. So I don't know how long I talked, but that's a bunch of thousands of people right now. And I would tell people right now, and this is one of my main plugs for LinkedIn and Handshake as well, is that when you submit professional materials such as your resume and your cover letter, they only give a snapshot of who you are, right? You got to keep it to ideally 1 or 2 pages for these materials. And so you feel like you left out a lot of things in your professional experience. Like, wow, there's so much more I want to share with employers. Well, I encourage you to put your LinkedIn URL at the top of your resume, and LinkedIn can serve as a to be continued. It can really show the full professional story beyond your resume and cover letter. So here's just a sample of a LinkedIn profile. This is my colleague. She looks good. I would say the more full your profile is, the better. And so make yourself easy to find by customizing your URL. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. I think I'm gonna go through a couple of the slides, and then I'm gonna actually show you some of the things I talked about on my actual LinkedIn profile. But this is just an example. Make yourself easy to find. When I say make yourself easy to find, is by either customizing your URL, one, or additionally, I have a picture. This is an opportunity for people to, like, when they want to see what you look like. I would also encourage, do not put a picture on your resume or cover letter, but these are digital places where it is strongly encouraged. Now you see right here, I'm topped up, that is essentially all you need to show for a profile picture. Not a full body shot, but just kind of that, what we call profile view, that profile headshot, and take a nice photo, top, nipple line or breast, armpit line and up. You don't need to do a full headshot. And I would do, if we were in person, a lot of, for instance, for our career fair, we do provide free headshots when we have in-person career fairs. But if you do not have the opportunity to get a professional headshot from us at the Career Center during a presentation, just have one of your friends find a plain background and take a headshot from there. I would encourage have a plain, either a wall behind you, a less distracting background. Or I have seen some headshots where they've taken outside, with a nice scenery, but as long as you're wearing professional wear. And so it's just an example. I like to say that if I Googled myself, this is probably the most used image I've used on every single thing. Shout out to my colleague who made this headshot. She got my good side. She got me when I got a haircut. I look good. I look fresh. And I've used this multiple times, but as you can see, I really think it's a flattering picture of myself, if I say so myself. But it shows that I'm warm, I'm inviting. I love to establish new relationships with people, and it's by the standard of, and I say consider your industry standard. So I have seen headshots for more creative industries where it's a little bit more informal in the picture. But that's also industry by industry. If you're working in TV production or certain media industries or a graphic designer, I've seen some, a little bit, untraditional dress, but I'm in higher education. So it's with the assumption that if I need to show up as a professional in higher ed, suit and tie. So just dress according to your industry and make sure that your headshot is appropriate. And so we're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about, go through these LinkedIn slides first about suggestions, and then give actual example from my LinkedIn. But I would say we're going to, establish a really strong headline. And a headline is it's underneath your name and your profile. Now, by default, the headline for LinkedIn will pull from your most recent experience. So if you are a recent or a current graduate or graduate student, it's just going to say graduate student at, and that's not very exciting. So you have the opportunity to edit your headline and not use by default your most recent experience. And I'll show you how to do that. But really you can add a little bit more personality to it, things that you're looking for, career aspirations. I like to use the lines and bracket to separate the different identities I have for myself. And I'll show you an example with my own profile, but you can add a little bit more personality to your headline rather than just your most recent experience where it says graduate student or graduate assistant or current student at. And I'll show you how to do so. And thank you. As I said, I'm gonna run through a lot of the slides for LinkedIn, but then I'm gonna actually show you some concrete things for LinkedIn. And additionally, if you're able to register, I have a tip sheet, which I can have sent to you via email. So we're coming this, I have that to send that has this so that if you miss these slides, it's a really concrete checklist of things to think about for your LinkedIn profile, which I'll forward on to Mary Claire or whoever to capture the registrations that we send out. And then the About Me section. I would say the About Me section is very similar to the My Journey section in Handshake. It's usually a small snapshot of who you are. I say 3 to 6 sentences. Do not have to be a full thesis of who you are, but add a little bit of personality. I say the quick or the most, I guess, format that I think of is 1, what are you currently doing? What is one current accomplishment that you have or something that's noteworthy accolade? Maybe 1 career goal. And then I like to add on to this, why are you using certain platforms? So, you can say, I'm using LinkedIn. I hope to connect with, and you can say X, Y, Z, like, I hope to connect with other professionals in the media industry. I hope to connect with other professionals in the tech and engineering space. So you can really write out authentically what you want to use use LinkedIn or this networking platform for. Now, mind you, with the My Journey and the About Me section is that this is fluid and this is not stagnant, meaning as things change, a new accomplishment occurs, your career goals change, please just edit and update and keep it as relevant or current as you can. And then additionally, we're going to talk about in your profile and in your headline and in your About section, it says search, it's SEO, or we call search engine optimization. Use some of the key words for your industry. If you're really in the computer, you could say, use the lingo in your profile somewhere in there in the About You section or in some of the accomplishments you have. A lot of the things that LinkedIn does do as well as Handshake is it pulls analytics from your profile, and it's almost like Amazon is reading the main news feed is going to read a lot of the behavior and patterns that you put into the platform. So the more lingo you use in your profile on both platforms, the more that when you go to the normal news feed or the main general screen, you'll start seeing a little bit of relevancy, and that's on purpose. There's engineers behind the scenes on both platforms that are updating these platforms to make sure that the experience is unique to the users of them. So the more and more you do it, you're gonna be like, how did the system know I'm interested in this? It's pulling data, like anything, it's pulling data from your profile. So the more complete your profile is, the more the search engine optimization will work in your favor to give you suggestions for yourself. And then I would say, in regards to engaging on the platform, the positive, the thing that separates Handshake for LinkedIn is that similar to like that Facebook, it has an opportunity for you to engage in a general news feed. So I would encourage everyone to publish content, to write articles, to share topics that you're interested in. The more and more you share on this news feed, the more and more you share, which I'll show you. I'm saying a lot of I'll show you at the moment, and I'm going to get through this content first, is the more and more you use these platforms, the more and more other users will see you're engaging these platforms and connect with you. So there's nothing to stop you from writing, was it an op-ed or opinion, like something that you're interested in the industry, right? You can publish your own article. And when I say you publish an article on LinkedIn, there's no middleman, there's no school newspaper. You can write an opinion piece on anything that you want to, but you can also share pre-existing articles. And I think this is a great way to drive traffic to your page as well as connect with other people. And I'll give a shout out to one of my colleagues, Carolyn. She writes, just when it comes to her, she writes articles on LinkedIn as they relate to the career development space. I read them, I think they're great. And it's just a way to drive conversation. So there's nowhere stopping you. If you want to just kind of be a thought, I say thought leader, but just a content creator, there's opportunities to write content on your LinkedIn. And then I would say also, one of the things that is really, really great about this platform is the opportunity to get recommendations or kind of references that are shown to others forever, evergreen. And with that being said, you can request recommendations on your LinkedIn page to show that you're skilled and that other people can vouch for you. Now, the thing I like about LinkedIn is that it gives you the opportunity. It's kind of unilateral opportunities. So you can also give love and shout out and recommend above you as well. Like you can recommend someone that helped you as a supervisor or someone that was a teammate. So you can also recommend side to side. So I really encourage you to think about not only gathering recommendations for yourself, but also offering up recommendations to people that you want to, show some love to. And additionally, you can also endorse others based on skills where you say what you're skilled at, and your network can give you a little thumbs up to endorse your skills, to show that, the wide range of the world on LinkedIn thinks you're skilled in things. But as it says, prioritize recommendations over endorsements. I think one of the things the principle I like to go off of is one-to-one, is that if I'm going to request a recommendation from someone, whether that's a supervisor or an old colleague, I like to write one for them as well. And so it's that one-to-one ratio. Now, I'll show you this on my on my LinkedIn myself. My ratio is like 1-to-2, where I think I've written like 2 times more than I've received. But that's not the point. The point is that I wanted to tangibly show this person some love in the form of a recommendation, and I'll show you that. And I think I'm getting to the last part.
Hey, Phil, this is Mary Claire. Let me chime in because we got a question in the chat that I think everybody could use an answer to.
Yeah.
Should you accept a LinkedIn request from someone who randomly reaches out to you? Maybe you might be looking at them, and as the questioner puts it, they might seem a little sketchy. For example, there's minimal information, 500 plus connections, bad picture. What would you do with that, Phil?
So here's and I'm glad you asked that. Here's my quick standards of vetting people, is that you already brought that up very well. There's some quality control. So one thing that I really encourage you to do when you reach out to someone, but also think about strategically, is when someone connects with you, did they add a note, right? A note can minimize a lot of that question, right? They can kind of set it to the table where you hit connect, but not only do you hit connect, you say why you're connecting. So that's one of my first instincts, is did this person add a note before they connected with me? Another thing that you said, and you brought it up, is very true, is there is some quality checks that I do too, which is there's no headshot. It does seem very scammy. There's no description. There's no bullet points for their experiences. I usually tell people, go with your gut. If it seems like someone is not really authentic and doesn't have a full profile, there's no shade and just not accepting them. This is your space and your platform. But what I would say is hold yourself to the same standards that you think about. So if you're going to say, I'm looking for a headshot, have a headshot for yourself. If you're going to say, I'm looking for someone to add a note when they connect, you add a note when you connect. If I'm looking for the spot checks of completed profile with bullet points and actual concrete experiences that they say they articulated in their descriptions, then you must have that for yourself. But I do agree, there are some quick signs. Now, also, I will tell you too, I'm quick to unconnect with people when I add them, and then I get that little instant hey, I see that you're interested in do you want to make some side money? I'm like, oh, come on now, this person added me with this pyramid scheme thing. So there's no problem with adding connect, and then someone shows you that they're not an authentic connection or spam bot, and unsubscribing. You have the power. It's your platform. You have the ability to do so, and you have the right to do so. So I say add people based on that quality check, but also you have the ability to unconnect with connections that have after you connected with them, proven that they're kind of sketchy?
Phil, we have an amazing question that's come through, and I don't know, it may have stumped me, so let's see what you can do with it. What would you recommend regarding concerns of adding a profile picture regarding personal security and the implicit bias discrimination that occurs on online platforms? What a question. Great question.
Along the lines of data suggested this on Airbnb. So are you talking about when you reach out to someone and they're being biased towards you, or or they're being biased towards you, like, oh wow, this person didn't add me because I'm a man of color or something like that, right? Is that what you're meaning?
I believe that's what the questioner is asking. Yeah. What if by adding my picture, I'm introducing the idea that they may discriminate against me because of how I.
Okay. I'm gonna put on my and this is as a man of color, I'm gonna put on my my personal view on inclusion and diversity, right? So I also think about, and especially with this engagement, is that I'm bringing myself to work, right? So in regards to the implicit bias. And so if I put my profile as a man of color and the person does not want to connect with me because of that and doesn't want to do an informational interview, then I have to have the understanding and the comfort in my identity as myself to say, well, you know what, that's not the type of person I want to connect with anyway. Additionally, I would encourage you to think about that as you go through and navigate and try to connect with people. When you look at employers, look at their mission statement and all those things. If they are exhibiting that in that space, I really want you to come back and say, okay, now they have shown me that they have displayed implicit bias based on the identities that I have presented on a public platform. Now, one, you know, when you're not employed, I guess you don't have the opportunity to sue or whatever. I don't know, with the Airbnb, that's like not fair, right? Like you can't get a place because of what identities you show up. But I would also encourage you to think about being authentic, being your authentic self on these platforms, and think about if you're reaching out to connect with these people on these platforms, if they do not want to connect back with you, think in their mind, was that the type of person I wanted to connect with and leverage this professional relationship? Because as I brought back to the very beginning of this, LinkedIn and networking is about building authentic relationships in a professional realm. And so if people are being implicitly biased, when you show up as your authentic self, then do you really want to connect with that person? And I mean, that's a rhetorical question. You don't have to answer that. And so I would really encourage you not to conform. And when I say conform, I would really not want you to not show up with your own professional headshot or whatever, with the understanding that it's going to be a hindrance to you based on implicit bias. I would encourage you to still show up as your full self, and then still reach out to people that you want to network with as appropriate. But if they don't connect with you, that's their loss. Another part on that slide that we said earlier is that you have, in this relationship with networking, you bring value. Not just you're reaching out for value in others, you bring a value based on your experience as a student, what you're learning. And so I say it's their loss. I don't know if that kind of answered that question, but I would say, you know, that's some thoughts I think about as well.
Thank you, Phil. That was a great answer, and I can tell you're really passionate about that. And what a great message for everybody to remember, that what an incredible value you bring to your network as well. So remember that when you act boldly.
Yeah, I love that. Actually, that was actually a podcast I listened to. It was like Be Bold or something. It's about an HR person, about showing up boldly to who you are in a professional space. So I think I did a lot of talking. So let me share my screen, and then we're going to do some techniques of breaking out, and I want you to connect with each other. So let me, I'll stop sharing. Let me pull up my LinkedIn and do some really quick things. All right. Go back to the whoops. Zoom. Share screen. And then where am I going to my LinkedIn? All right, there you go. All right, so this is actually my LinkedIn profile. And so I'm gonna do a really quick ad hoc thing for LinkedIn connections and some suggestions. So for instance, when it says make yourself visible, just kind of run through. If you wanna make your URL something other than this computer code right here, or like, you know how you can copy and paste this, You just go to this tab, which is called Edit Your Public URL. You go here quickly, you go to the little pencil, and you can edit that off of computer code. If you have a very general name, it's going to probably ask you to edit it by adding a number or some kind of other thing as well. But you can edit this. I like to use this customized URL right here. Sorry. I like to use that as like a placeholder for my resume. I put that at the top, similar to a website. Now you also can say this is public, so you can control what they see. Like if you want, when you put that URL on your resume, you can control that they only see, I don't care what they see, so I put all of it, but you can only say they only see my picture, my summary, my about me, and a couple activities. You can limit that for your public URL. As I said earlier, this will pull, this is called your headline right here. This will pull from your most recent job, but you can edit it however you want, hire a professional. What I say is when you click on the pencil, it's going to say headline. By default, it pulls from the most recent job, but you can edit your headline as you want and then save it. What it normally does is pull, like I said, pull from your most recent job and do that. The about me, this is the little paragraph I said earlier. You can edit with the pencil, say a little bit about yourself. And then I'm just kind of scroll down. I want to go real quickly. Make sure that, I like to say, add some descriptions to the jobs that you do. Don't just have this is do as I say, not as I do. Add a little bit more descriptions to everything, meaning all the roles that you have. Now, the positive about each description that you have as a job is that when you click on the pencil, if you want to add some supplemental links, you can add links and graphics and YouTube videos to all the job experiences by either uploading the link or uploading the actual raw video or picture. And then you can give a description as such. So I've been interviewed or been on a YouTube video about what I do at Career Center. So I just added the YouTube link so it shows up on my profile. Additionally, you can add your volunteer experience and then add additional, like I didn't add any bullet points to my volunteer experience just because didn't feel like doing it right now, but you can add depth to that. So these are all volunteer experiences that I have, but I didn't add any bullet points. And then, as I said earlier, if you look at my ratio, well, it's even worse than 2 to 1. I've given a lot of recommendations that I received, but it's just a tangible way to show some love to other people. And then I've received some myself. So that's really nice. Additionally, with the news feed, as I said, you can engage with it by dropping, liking comments. But as I said, you can share articles or write your own article right there on the profile, which will take you to this like similar, like a template format where you can make a headline for your article, add a picture, and then just start typing from there. This really allows you the opportunity to create content on your own and not wait for an additional platform such as a blog or anywhere else to write an article or write something that you're interested in.
I love that advice, that even in this time, I know the semester is getting back up and running, so a lot of us are busier than we have been, but there's so much you can do on your LinkedIn to make good use of any extra time that you may have found because of the COVID situation and things being closed. I saw you scrolled past your LinkedIn certifications. That's something else students could consider investing in.
Now, and another thing I would say authentically to build relationships with people is use hashtags. Follow a bunch of hashtags as they relate to the things you're interested in. So if I say click higher ed, because I made it a followed hashtag, say followed, this news feed will take me to a separate news feed where it's only related to that hashtag, and it can find professionals that are saying hashtag higher ed. So I would encourage you to make that. Now I'm gonna go to a part of networking that I definitely want you to think about, and then we're gonna go into a breakout room because I know I did a lot of talking. So Philip, how do I set up informational interviews? I'm gonna show you really one quick technique to do it and then talk about what they are. So for instance, you already have a pre-existing network that you're a part of called George Mason University. I go to the school page. Now, from this school page, what I like to do is I like to go to the alumni tab. Now, as a Mason student, you are already plugged in to the Mason Patriot Nation, Mason Nation network, right? Because of where you're getting your, so I go to the alumni tab. I'll say, I want to find people that have recently graduated. So someone similar to close to me within the past 10 years. So I filter by that. As you can see, it went from like 100 something thousand to 70 something thousand, and say, okay, I want to be a little bit more strategic. I want to talk to someone that has something to do with graphic design. And so it filters by that. Wow, it went down to that. Now, as you can see, these filters, right, it keeps on going. I can say what they do at their job, what do they study? Maybe I'll pick someone that studied the same thing as me, graphic design. Even further filter. And I'm gonna do one more. One more as I do is I say, okay, what are they good at? They're good at Photoshop, just like me. Now, boom, where are all these people at? They're down here. Wow, these are people that I filtered and are very similar to what I like to do. Now, here's the part about informational interviews that I tell a lot of students all the time, is that before you connect with these people, you click on them and you do a little bit of what I call social media investigation. I don't call it stalking, investigation. It's being a detective. So I look at some things that they're talking about, some shared things, their experiences, some of their accomplishments and things like that. Okay, cool. And then I connect with her. Now, as I said earlier, to make it seem more likely to connect and set up an informational interview, I don't hit done, I add a note. This is your opportunity to establish why you reached out to this person. Hey, I am a current student, blah, 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 blah. I'm interested in what you do. I see that you had an internship at this place. Now, with informational interviews, you are not asking for a job at all. You're asking for information. So what you would ask of Casey is, do you have, I see that you're similar to this. I would love to connect with you on this platform, LinkedIn. Do you have 5 to 10 minutes of your time so I can ask some questions about your experience or blah, 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 or what employers are looking for? Now, when you do an authentic message like that for informational interview, worst case scenario is that Casey sees your invitation and she does not add you. Boo-hoo, worst case scenario, that's it. Your day goes on, right? I tell a lot of people, have that understanding that people might not connect with you. Best case scenario is that you will get Casey's time. Now, if you get Casey's time, you ask questions. I say there's only one thing that you really request of someone you do an informational interview. And it's not to look at your resume. It's not to look, it's that this is my go-to line all the time. If you do connect with Casey, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Do you know anyone else that would be open to connect with me or, connecting with me on this platform or, just so I can ask questions? And she said, yeah, sure. I got a buddy that works in my department. Boom. That's the only thing. That's networking right there. You establish that you're just asking information and that you're asking for a follow-up request. Now, I also would say leverage, as you do with anyone when you build a relationship, is say, thank you so much, Casey, for your time. If there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. Because she might hit you up later and say, oh, I need someone that's good at X, Y, and Z. I thought about you. So it's building a mutual relationship with someone that that, as I said earlier, you bring value as well as you receive value. And I say the worst case scenario is that the people that, as you said with that implicit bias question, if they don't connect with you, it's okay. I'm gonna use this platform to connect with people that will connect with me on this platform. And so I will say, we're gonna go into a breakout room, but before we go into breakout room, I wanna give you another pro tip before I do this. So, one of the things I think about, let me get back to, is that what I always have ready, virtual meeting links, is what I always have ready, and I'm about to throw this in the chat myself, is I always have my links ready to go. So if I'm ever in a virtual space, I'm gonna be like this, thank you so much. I love, meeting with you, or I love connecting with people, and I throw my links in the chat. Now, I'm gonna say something, I'm gonna call it the extra, Philip Wilkerson is extra tip. If I ever go to a webinar or a conference or anything in a big public place, I usually say, I write a little paragraph to myself, to the chat for everybody. I say, hey everybody, it was really great. I see everyone is really interested in this topic. I would love to follow up and connect with anyone later on LinkedIn. And I throw my name in chats of 500 people. I don't care. Worst case scenario, they don't connect. But I have my links. As you can see, I have my links ready to go. I always encourage you. We have the career fair coming up, or the part-time fair, or any fair. Have your links ready to go. Have your LinkedIn URL ready to go, or your social media ready to go, so that when you go into these professional opportunities with chats and all those things, that you can throw those links in there so that people can follow up. If you have a website or a blog, have it ready to go. If you have whatever, have it ready to go. And so we're gonna go into the breakout. I was set some questions. Where is it? I had the questions ready. Oh man, took it out. Okay, I'm gonna just type up the questions. But so here's what we're gonna do, and I'm gonna type it in the chat so that you can have it. So Mary Claire is gonna break you out into breakout rooms, and we're gonna practice. And so what I want you to do to practice, and I'm gonna write it down so that I remember. I thought I had it in my links. Is I want you to do one thing. I want you to introduce yourself to the other people in your mini breakout room. Now the introductions, I want your introduction to include your name, your actual major, and why what you're studying here at Mason. So name, major, icebreaker. One thing I want to say, one fun fact about yourself, one fun fact, and then lastly, share, I guess, one thing one benefit that you've had, one benefit that you've had during this COVID-19 thing in regards to, and I would say specifically with connecting with people. Like you can share a story where I joined a Zoom and we did a cooking class or something like that. I don't know. So name, major, fun fact, and a positive social connection opportunity that you participated in. And so Mary Claire, you're gonna break them out. How many minutes do we have?
So I typed all those questions into the chat, Phil, so everybody should have access to those over in the chat. And just do as you feel comfortable. You will be allowed to turn on your webcam and your microphones. We encourage you to, but again, do as you feel comfortable. And so go ahead, Phil.
No, I was going to say, you're the time manager. I'm sorry, go ahead.
What you'll see, everybody, is you'll see a little countdown clock when we're getting ready to wind down. I'm looking at the time. We're probably going to spend about 4, maybe 5 minutes in these rooms. So one thing you might want to do is establish a bit of an informal time monitor so that everybody who wants to gets a chance to speak, okay? And like Phil said in the beginning, this is just about as real a networking as you can get. All of you can be each other's network. So good luck to all of you, and we'll see you in just a couple of minutes. Follow the prompts that you see up on your screen to come back and join us when the time ends. Okay? Bye. Good luck.
And Mary Claire, I'm gonna stay in here for a little bit before I jump in.
That sounds great.
So just time manager, we're doing this to the 30 mark, correct?
No, we're done at 3.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to expedite a little bit. I got kind of on tangents. I wanted to show some real stuff, but hopefully I know I dropped some information. So
You shared a lot of really good information.
So what we'll do is when we come back, let's just hit the Q&A part, and I can freestyle it from there about networking and some of these questions. So we'll do that when we come back.
I'm gonna move Caroline Simpson. None of the other people joined her breakout room. I'm gonna move her there.
Perfect.
Hi, Joseph. How's it going? Was anybody in your breakout room? No? All right, let me move you. Sorry about that. Hang on 1 second.
And if you need me to join a breakout room, I can do that as well, just to help with numbers and have a number.
Thank you. You're okay. Okay, I'm going to move you to breakout room number 9. Okay, Joseph? Thank you.
So I just click breakout room?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go. All right. Joe's in the room.
He's in the room. Uh-oh. Okay, do you want to go to breakout room number 11? Let me see if I can throw you in there.
Okay, Smokey.
All right, hang on one second. Where's Phil? She's had no, or this person's had no one in there.
I'll jump in there. I see it right now.
Cool. Welcome back, everybody. Please go back on mute and turn your cameras off once again. But I hope that was fun. Everyone's coming back to the room. Please go back on mute. It looks like everybody's turning their cameras off. Well done. And Phil, you're on mute, just FYI. We'll get started back up here in just a second.
Okay, so I'm just gonna finish with it. I mean, hold it on this slide, and then like open up. I have Mary Clay. Since I have the slide showing, I will answer questions as she presents them to me for the last couple minutes of this presentation. But here's my last tip is that, as I said earlier about the investing in social capital. So I always think about your network is similar to stock, right? And with that being said, you have to like do small investments in stock, which you pull out a lot of that, like you put a little bit here and there, and eventually it comes back, and you're a gazillionaire, whatever. And I think of the same thing with your network, right? Your networking is ever growing. I say that your network is doing the work for you out there in the world, unbeknownst to you. So I always say, like, there's a saying, like, my ears are burning, meaning like, people are talking about you. Well, the way I think about I generate that is that I really invest my time into establishing relationships, building rapport, and staying connected. So to maintain your network, here's some tips. Informational interviews, stay in touch with holidays and greetings for certain people. I particularly stay in touch with holiday greetings with people I consider my mentors, and send them texts and say, when I have built a really good relationship, is, stay in touch. And I would also say about the key to networking is not the initial reach, the initial connection or initiation. The key or the moneymaker is the follow-up and accountability. And so when there's someone I really, really enjoy talking to or building a relationship with, and I say, hey, I'm gonna check in with you in about 2 weeks, I set a phone reminder. I mean, I think that's oversimplified, but that's something how I hold myself accountable to. The main part about it is follow-up. So that's my last 2 cents. Let's get to some of these questions for the end of the presentation. And then I would encourage you to, for future reference, connect with me or connect with career services, but also additionally make that virtual link form and have your links ready to go when we get into this digital space. But Mary Claire, can you spit off some questions in the chat for me, please? If there is any questions.
Absolutely. And I just want to commend everybody for that breakout room experience. We weren't sure how that was going to go, but it sounds like everybody enjoyed it. I know I'm a sucker for a breakout room. I feel like it's such a nice way to use this technology. So thanks everybody for participating so thoughtfully. And please let us know what you think of this workshop, as it's the first time that we're using that technology. We really only have one outstanding question left, Phil, and it relates to what you mentioned earlier in the presentation regarding LinkedIn and the use of keyword search engines. Mm-hmm. How would a student know what types of words they ought to be?
Okay, so I don't want to keep on going back and forth. So one way I do that for keyword optimization is that, okay, there's a jobs tab. Go to the jobs tab and click on jobs and search a job that you're interested in. I tell people, even type in your dream job. Now, what you can do is you can set alerts for jobs. And when you set job alerts, they'll start routinely coming to you because you set alert for the search engine. But also I would encourage you to browse the job descriptions that you like. Just look at the job descriptions. And you will start seeing over and over again repeated skills that they need. So if you were like software engineer and you put that software engineer as the job title, and you read the descriptions of multiple job engineer postings, start really looking for, like, what are they saying over and over and over again? Must be experienced in Java or whatever, must be experienced in HTML. Those are going to be the search engine optimization keywords that you need to start really either one, put in your profile if you have experiences that relate to those, or two, look at the LinkedIn learning videos or start building those skills on those keywords, because you know that the industry that you're going in is looking for those skills. Hopefully that answers the question. So job postings would be one way.
That's a great way to research it. Thank you, Phil. And with that, we really are at time. So I wish we were all in person to give you a round of applause, Phil. I think I can speak for lots of us when I say we all learned a ton. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. And if I were to guess, I believe everybody on the line does have a homework assignment, though. Would you say that's true, Phil?
Yeah, I would say the homework assignment, I got two homework assignments. One is refer back to the 5 F's I would say put on a piece of notebook paper and put the industry and try to find someone to connect with in those 5 F's on social media, on LinkedIn. And then 2, another assignment I would say is utilize the alumni search. There's a homework. Utilize the alumni search and try to reach out authentically to at least 10 new contacts using the search on your industry. Now, I didn't say that they're going to reach out to you or connect with you, but at least reach out to 10, shoot your shot with 10 people. But I would say that when you reach out to these 10 people as your homework, please write a message in the notes so that you tell the person when you're reaching out to that 10 people why you reached out to them. You can even say, I attended a LinkedIn workshop and it was suggested that I reach out to people that I'm interested in connecting with. You could throw that in there. That is an icebreaker in itself. Like you said, I'm a student and my class told me I need to reach. That's okay. Use that. Use the notes when you connect.
I'm sure I speak for Phil when I say you're also so welcome to connect with us. We'd be happy to have you as part of our networks. And with that, we're going to close this out. Thank you all so much for participating. It's been such a joy. And please do consider coming to other JumpStart sessions and check the event calendar on the Career Services webpage for more information on our part-time job fair. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.